Hello everyone, Ray Huber here with another quick tutorial. Today we'll be creating our first program in Excel using VBA. So the first step here obviously is to open Excel. And once you do that, just create a new workbook, or you can open up a different workbook that you have. So here, first thing is to go to the Developer tab. If you don't have the Developer tab up there already, what you need to do is go to File, Options, Customize Ribbon, and then make sure the Developer tab is enabled here on the right side. Once you have that, just click OK, and then go up here to the Developer tab and either press the button for Visual Basic or just press Alt F11 on your keyboard at any time. So here, this is the Visual Basic environment. All you have to do to basically create a new space to write your program is just go to the workbook that you opened. Here, this is book 1. You can see on the left here that I'm highlighting, and press Insert Module. So here we have just a new space where we can write some code. And so to make a new macro, all you need to do is say sub and then the name of your macro, whatever you want to title it. The sub just basically says that this is a new macro, and there will also be an end sub once we write this out. Basically says where the lines of your code are contained. So here we'll say first program, and it's usually good to basically capitalize the first letters of any words here. And so within this program, I think the first example that we're going to do here, and this is pretty general for programming languages, is to write hello world and have that output to the screen. So here what we're going to do is, actually we're going to make it just a little more complicated so we can get some more concepts in here. So first we're going to make a variable, and a variable is basically just going to be a string, which is just a number of characters, basically a line of text or whatever you have there. So here we're going to say dim, which is dimension. Basically it's just the keyword that you're creating a new variable. So dim output text as string. So this right here is the variable that we're creating. You can name it whatever you like. You can name it X or Y or cat, whatever. But it's usually good to create a variable name that kind of tells you what's inside of that variable. So right now we've created this variable, but it doesn't actually say anything. It's blank. We haven't given it any information. So what we're going to do here is say output text, and you just say equals whatever you want it to say. So in this case, we're going to say hello world. And in this scenario, you need these quotes around whatever you're going to say, just basically denoting that this is text instead of a variable. Because here, if we had another variable, say, if we had another variable called x, we could say output text equals x, and then whatever was in x gets transferred into the output text. But in this scenario, we're going a little more basic, and we're just say that the output is hello world. And then to basically show that to the screen, there's a number of ways that we could do this, but we're just going to have a little pop-up window that shows the string that we have here, which is hello world. So all we need to do is say message box, which you just say MSG box, and then there are a number of options here. We can change the button layouts, the titles, all that kind of stuff. But all we need right here is just the string that we need, which is hello world. So we're going to say output text. So pretty basic. Just making a variable, putting the text that we want in the variable, and then printing that out to the screen. So let's see that in action. I'm going to Alt-Tab back to the workbook. And so we'll go to this Developer tab, and you can hit Macros and see the ones that we have here. And here, we're just going to run this, and there you go. Hello world. Pretty simple. Okay, so hopefully you understand that. Let's kick it up a notch. So here, maybe you want to customize the message instead of just having it be hello world. Maybe you want something on your sheet that you already have, maybe you're calculating, you want it to print out and say exactly what it is. Okay, so here, instead we're gonna allow the user to write the message. And so here, basically, just allowing them to write it in the B1 cell, and then whatever that is will be spit out into the pop-up window that we create. So it doesn't really matter what this is. We can make dogs and cats, whatever. It really doesn't matter. And going back to the Visual Basic environment, instead of just having this be a string of characters that we hard-coded into here, hard-coded just means basically you typed it out. You didn't really come to it programmatically. Instead, what we're gonna do is we're gonna get that off the sheet. So here, this is a B1. In VBA, you can reference it like that, but it's not generally how it's done. It's not a very efficient way to do it. Instead of calling it B1, we actually go ahead and call this cells. And then here you have the row index and the column index. That allows you to easily move and traverse through a spreadsheet. Easier than calling something like A1 or C11 or whatever you have. So here we'll say it's in the first row because it's A, or it's 1, I mean. And it's in the second column because it's B. And you separate the those two with a comma. And these two are just the arguments of the cells method. Arguments are just the things that you're putting into the method, and then what that'll do is basically return this to the variable that we had, where before we had hard-coded the hello world in. Instead, we'll be getting whatever is written in this cell, and then from there, again, it will take that variable, which is a string, and then print that out into the pop-up box. So let's go ahead and give that a test. So again, developer, we can do the macros, and you could even make a shortcut if you press options, but we don't really need to do that. So let's run it. There you can see dogs and cats. And again, we can make that whatever, if I can type, whatever we want. So really, it doesn't matter what you type in here. It'll always show up in this message box. So there's a lot of different things that we could do. Let's do another example here. And let's say we'll call this X and Y. We'll say this, maybe this is 2, and this is 7. And we'll have Z, which is just X times Y. Actually, we need to make that comment. This is just a comment. So, you know, if you're going through and using cell formulas, you go like that. Pretty easy. You'd obviously know how to do that. So instead, we're going to do that within VBA. And what we're going to do is output it to the message box rather than using these things here. So what we're going to do is, instead of using the string, we're actually going to make a new variable here that's actually a double. And a double is just a number that can also be a decimal. There are integers and longs, which are basically just whole numbers, but singles and doubles basically just allow you to also have decimals. Gives you a wider flexibility. So I'll dimension final number as a double, and then here you can comment out lines of code by just putting an apostrophe before it. So here we're going to say that the final number equals, again, we can reference what a cell has in it by saying cells, and then the row number, which is for X, is 4, and the column number, which is 2. And then we can multiply that by Y by saying cells 5, because it's row 5, and column 2, because it's B. So now this is a number, and then we can, actually, instead of actually putting it to a message box, let's actually print it out to the sheet. So let's say, let's just put it over here. No good reason to do this, but just because. So instead, we're going to put it in this cell rather than putting it to a message box. So let's do that real quick. So here, this is a good trick too. If you want to know the row and column number of a cell, hold the cell and then drag to the first cell, and then you can see at the top left right here, you can see the number of rows and the number of columns. So it's 8 rows, 9 columns. So here we'll say cells 8, 9, 8 rows, 9 columns, equals final number. So much the same way that you query what kind of information is already in the cells, you can feed it back to the cells, whatever you want, whether it be a number or text, even a formula. So let's get that try real quick. This will be the last thing that we do. So we'll Alt Tab back, and then we'll run this real quick. Developer macros, and just run that. Here you go, 14. Same as using the cell formulas. So let's say we make this like 95.34. One thing that you have to note with VBA is it calculates it when it runs. So there are ways to have it calculate maybe every time the workbook is updated anyway. But in this case, we didn't. We didn't link that to any of those functions. So here, this will be re-updated when we run the program. So if we go back to developer, macros, and run, you can see it calculates that and puts it out. For this type of application, this is a very basic application. This obviously isn't very useful compared to just using the cell formulas, but there are a lot more powerful things that VBA can do that you wouldn't be able to do with normal formulas within a cell. So anyway, we'll get to some of those more advanced topics later, but hopefully this is just an overview. Anyway, hopefully that was helpful. Just give you an introduction, a very simple way to start learning to program using VBA within Excel. All right, thank you.